Mitch McConnell. Thankfully for our civilization and for our country, he is retiring, and somebody who is running for his seat. I am so excited to welcome Colonel Pamela Stevenson to IHIP News. Colonel, how are you today?
I am fabulous, and thank you for having me. It's so exciting to be here because you guys are doing it.
We're trying. I mean, it's hard. And as you know, living in a red state, sometimes you're closer to MAGA and MAGA policies than you want to be, although you all have a great governor there in Kentucky, but whom we've had on this podcast. But let's talk a little bit about, you're a colonel. I mean, that is fantastic.
Yes, I served 27 years in the United States Air Force. I had the privilege and honor of fighting for the promise of America. And I, along with thousands of other military members, willingly said, if you have to take my life, take it. I don't want you to. But what we stand for is so important that we're willing. So I retired as a colonel, and I wanted to come back to Kentucky to do the same thing for Kentucky that I did for America. In the military, I was a prosecutor, defense counsel. I lived in 11 countries. I was a legal liaison in countries like the Middle East, Mali, Chad, Sierra Leone, Germany, England. I learned how to work with all types of people and cultures and listen for what will make the difference in the promise of America.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Colonel. This country has a very difficult time electing very qualified Black women. And Black women have just such an uphill battle in this country. How can we have a conversation around race, around gender, around qualifications bluntly without skirting around the sides of it and get qualified Black Democrats like you, very qualified Black Democrats like you, elected in deep red states?
Well, like I like to tell people, when the America sent me to the Middle East, where they don't appreciate short Black women or women at all, I couldn't say I can't get it done because of who I proudly am. I had to find a way. And this is what I discovered, that when we engage, and I'm talking about everyone, do what you can with what you got. That's how we win. When we don't engage, we get what we got. So I am confident that when we do the work and let go of that can't happen, we win. Everything is impossible until it's possible. So I tell all the people that I come in contact with, because I've been in a lot of counties where they don't even have Black cows. And I'm being playful because I like having fun while we do the work.
I agree.
And I tell everybody, what would make your life work? I ask that question. And when we talk about that, we get miracles happening. And that's how my numbers in rural counties went up, because I'm interested in people. And when they figure out she's really interested in people, they listen. And that's the beginning.
Let's talk about rural America and rural. I'm in Oklahoma, you're in Kentucky, and these counties go deeply, deeply, deeply red. I mean, some of them 80, 89% red. And the narrative is that these people have been neglected by both parties. And I think that's a very valid complaint, because you have this two-party system where people are beholden, the politicians are beholden to corporations, and working class people have been left aside. And now we have this issue where the Democrats are kind of having this slight civil war about identity politics. I'm a firm believer that nobody is free until everybody is free. And that means that we can't leave one person behind, even the little trans kid that might be raised in a MAGA household, that somebody has to fight for that person, and that all of these programs and rights are for them as well. What would your message be to a white, rural, gun-toting, Trump-supporting Kentuckian that fears that trans kids or the LGBTQ plus community or immigrants are somehow the reason that they can't have nice things?
And what I have done when I've gone to these rural areas is ask them the question, what do you need to make your life work? What is it that would have you be happy and satisfied? So, because no matter where I was, whether I was in the Middle East or California, Mississippi, Alabama, everybody wants the same things. They want their children to do better. They want their families to thrive, and they want their one life to make a difference. And I engage with them about that. We focus on the wrong things. And so far, thus far, I've not had anybody say, no, I want to talk about this. They really want to talk about their lives, and they want somebody to listen. And the other is a distraction. Gives them something to do while the other hand is doing something against them.
And don't you think that's a message that we need to take forward, that the reason you can't have nice things is not because of an immigrant. It's not because of a black lady. It's not because of the LGBTQ plus people. The reason you can't have nice things is because the Republican Party has lied to you for decades and told you they care about family values. Meanwhile, they are shifting wealth away from working class families to the top percent. And now the corruption that we're seeing is on a scale that is just staggering and jaw-dropping. And the exploitation of that working class is even greater than it has ever been under this current administration. So in merging this populist economic message, while not leaving any of our minorities or marginalized groups behind, I fear that people in rural counties are so locked into propaganda, and they believe the reason they can't have nice things is because people are on government subsidies instead of these billionaires being subsidized by our government. And that message, I think, from being in a red state and you in a red state, if we can start messaging that on a large scale, will tip the scales some. And so do you, when you talk to these people in rural Kentucky, are they open to the idea that the grift and the subsidizing is at their expense for the billionaires? Are they seeing this?
Yes. Once I get their attention by not attacking their God and focusing on their life, then they can hear when we talk about what is the cause of your discomfort. So, for example, I was talking to someone that was against welfare, and I kept listening, and come to find out that person is on disability and has friends on EBT, but that's not food stamps, that's EBT. So we have to meet them where they are and message in the language that they use. And when I do that, they understand. I'm like, so do you want your disability check cut? They're like, no, how would I live? Exactly. Now, where do you think that money's going? Where do you think? Who's getting the tax breaks? And they'll tell me. So the work is to have the conversations with them in a way that they can hear it. And while it seems like, oh, that's a lot, well, I find it very receptive. Like last night, I was in a rural Eastern Kentucky, and we talked about the economy and their families and a tax code that will give them the same loopholes or similar loopholes as billion-dollar corporations. And they were all like, yeah, that would be great. So if we can get the wall to come down so we can get through to their hearts and give them facts, not about a person, but about their situation,
right,
then we can make some headway. And we have to keep messaging and not stop. It's going to take a lot of messaging.
Agree.
to make sure they hear until they press the button in the voting booth.
I think that Kentucky is a really interesting place to keep our eyes on right now, because Andy Beshear, your governor, he didn't abandon anybody, and he is a man of faith. And I'm not a religious person, but when I hear Andy Beshear speak about his faith calls for him not to bully anyone and to stand up for the most marginalized, that speaks to me. I mean, it doesn't, and I'm not having some bedside, conversion or anything like that. But I feel like if people that are of faith message that way, living in a deeply religious state, that it might remind them, why are we worshiping these corporations above what's right and decent and fair? And the fact that he did that and that he won is really interesting to me, because the Andy Beshear type of politician to go into a deep red state, and of course, again, the elephant in the room, he's a white choir boy. I mean, he came up and he was in Oklahoma City, and he walked in and he came to our podcast and recorded in person. I thought, damn, this guy's right out of Central Casting. I mean, this is just perfect. And so while we are reconciling this reignition of racism, it's always been there, but it's more beholden. I mean, they're more emboldened right now. Yes. And having partners and allies like Andy Beshear in your state, I think, can help states like mine that are just so off the MAGA cliff right now. And these policies, these MAGA policies, really harm people. They further marginalize people. They further bully people. And so as you move forward in this campaign, and you campaign against, probably a white Republican who is going to throw all sorts of racist shit your way, both overt and covert, what would your message be to a very fractured America, and I'm assume very fractured Kentucky right now?
Well, as an ordained minister, so I am religious, I believe that love never fails. Love never fails. Now, while it looks a little shaky right now, while it looks like people aren't doing what they need to do, I have to stand on my principles and treat everyone the way I've been taught to treat them. I am in a legislature as the leader where there are 80 Republicans and 19 Democrats. And so we have to constantly engage. And I engage by saying, I want to focus on what the issue is and not what you think. I want to focus on how we can make Kentucky better and not your talking points. And we make some leeway. So as I travel around the state, I deal in facts. And I also tell them, for example, the budget last night, 225,000 Kentucky children will lose Medicaid. 225,000. Most of these children are disabled. And we're saying we are children. We are a country where we feel like every child should be loved and protected. And then we cut their health care. As far as I can tell, if you're a human being in a body, we need health care. And then to do it so that multi-billionaire corporations can make more money is directly against our faith. So I am constantly talking to people about the what so. This is the fact. Here's the proof. Here's the receipts. Now, what do you have to say about that? We are making some headway. I would say yes. Most people consider Kentucky a red state, but I would also say that Kentucky is a state that doesn't vote. That sometimes when we beat people over the heads, when they have 2 or 3 jobs trying to keep their family afloat, when they have life coming at them, when things are happening, the first thing they want to cut off is political talking heads. I can't deal with that. I've got my child to deal with, my parent to deal with.
Right.
So we've got to reach the people who have decided they don't have the capacity. We've got to reach the people that want to hold their vote hostage. For what? What you gonna get? and listen to why they would do that. I often say to people, I've been married 42 years, and I would like to believe my husband agrees with everything I say. And we know that's not true. So why do we get in a public space and think we have to agree before we can do good? Why do we get in a public space and say we have to see eye to eye before we move the state of Kentucky forward? We don't. We have to agree what our values are, and we have to enact the things that we think are true. And right now we're not doing that.
Well, Colonel, I want to thank you so much for joining me on IHIP News, and I wish you the best of luck. I would love nothing more than seeing you replace that just wretched, horrible stain on democracy, Mitch McConnell. I just think this would be, your victory would be a chef's kiss.
Well, and I would have to say, I would not be able to go back to my team if I didn't give a shout out to where you can reach me. Stevenson4Senate.com. If you want to volunteer, if you want the newsletter, if you want to know how this one is going to rock the world, not only for Kentucky, but for you, go to Stevenson4Senate.com, donate, volunteer. We need you.
That's right, listener. Go to her website and support and lift up all voices that are fighting this fascist regime. And there's nothing more beautiful than we are going to be done with Mitch McConnell. Colonel, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
You're welcome.